The type 3 child is called the determined child in the child whisperer. And what are the other expressive qualities of a type 3 child?
Type 3s are connected to the world physically, and they have a push-forward movement. The shapes that are associated with type 3 expression are swift lines moving in any direction, triangles and squares and angles.
And you'll see these shapes and lines in their facial features, and quite often even in their infancy. They have very distinct dynamic movement in their face, which is different than the animated, lighter expression of a type 1. The dynamic movement in a type 3 child's facial features has more intensity to it.
Intense is a great word to describe the facial.
And intensity. There's more substantial quality to their features, which we'll be showing you with 3 different images of type 3 children.
All of this is taught in the Child Whisperer book, so this is meant to support you in seeing what we teach in the book visually, so you can come to life and you can see it expressed in your children as well. So we'll be reviewing face shape, skin texture, cheeks, nose, eyes, eyebrows, and one of the most telling features of a type 3 baby. We'll get to that as well. Let's start with this first image, which is a type 3 toddler. First of all, I notice her eyes. They're so exotic. And what makes them exotic are the deep points on both the inner eye and the outer eye. And they're also set on a V. So it creates this tiger eye quality.
This is a good example of a substantial factor to these features. Her nose has more substance to it. You can actually see a V under the tip of her nose on the inside of each nostril. And just on that tip where we see that V coming to a point on the end of her nose. You see those high peaks in her upper lip, and that quality of just, there's a lioness quality or a cat-like quality often to a type 3 child's face.
And her cheeks are fuller, but they have an intenseness to them rather than being like a soft, downward, gentle cheek, which we would see in a type 2 child. You can see in her forehead also a square that has a prominent quality, and her skin has a ruddy or more textured quality to it.
In this boy, we really see it again in the eyes, those strong inner and outer points to the eye, the V in the nostrils. He has a good example of a chiseled jawline and an angular face shape that is, it's just moving in different directions, and that more jutted out chin. He's also has a quality of deeper lines around his mouth, and if he were doing a larger smile, you'd really see that stronger indentation.
You could even maybe see multiple smile lines. Look as well at his ears, how they have notched angles around the shape of his ear, and one side of the face compared to the other is more irregular. There'll be asymmetry expressed in type 3 facial features.
Often their smile is irregular, asymmetrical. They have a symmetry to their brows. Often, in his case, he has one brow that moves swiftly from an inner point, and the other brow's not quite the same shape, but still a swift, angular movement to it.
He has a good example as well as a chiseled nose, more substantial in size as well. And his skin texture has more freckling to it, and that's definitely a feature in type 3 as it's going to add more texture.
This teenage girl has that very dynamic, kind of exotic look to her eyes. And you can see, again, what we call the lump of clay nose that's now developed as she's gotten older, that there's more substance to it. And again, that peak in the upper lip, that quality of the chiseled jawline that she has, and just an overall substance. It's interesting because in the type 1 child we call cute, the type 2 child we call sweet. Most type 3 children, until they get into their teens, because they'll start to kind of grow into their more substantial features, because they'll look more dynamic or exotic, and they'll then have some reference to their appearance when they're little. You're most often not going to hear something about them being cute or their appearance. It'll be, well, that's an active child. That child has a lot of energy. They'll reference their movement and how much energy they have.
I've had people comment about my type 3 daughter.
What will they say?
Because she is so like fun and sassy. People have said like, oh, she's so cute, because it's like, oh, wow, look at her like doing her thing
Her
as
confidence,
a kid.
yeah.
Like that's cute to see a kid doing
Right.
that. And so that will be referenced. But what they're referring to is
Her behavior.
Yeah, her behavior.
Yeah, I remember when my brother first met her, he commented to me, she's got a lot of energy.
Yeah,
And
you
she
get
seemed
that
very
comment.
confident about
Uh-huh.
herself. So that's going
Yeah.
to be more the reference point rather than, oh, look at them.
When type 3s
Oh,
are
look at
babies,
them.
no, they come out looking like old men.
Yeah, they
have
aren't
this
real.
scrunchy look to their face, a lot of texture. Sometimes their noses are more substantial, and
Yes.
they, they
And
come
then-
out and they just looking just a little bit more rough around the edges.
Like, "Roar!"
Yes, definitely.
So that leads to the distinct quality of a type 3 child is what we call the type 3 scowl. Now, I've been asked this question, do only type 3 children scowl? Only a type 3 scowl can
Yeah.
a type 3 child pull off. Now, some other types might have some variable of a scowl,
Yes.
but this is a distinct,
know
you
it when
cannot
you
miss
see
it
it.
scowl. And this can happen as early as
Oh, days old. This is
days old.
Yes,
In fact,
I have a
let's show him a photo.
I have a picture of my baby, and
Yes,
he's
here it
just
is.
a couple days old, and he was
Look at
just
this.
sleeping. He was totally relaxed and happy.
I love
but
it.
He's sleeping with purpose. It's just-
Determination. There it is. That
And you
scowl
can-
is to
oh.
remind you, I'm a determined human being.
and I do what I do with purpose.
That's
you know?
right.
And you can just see the angles being created in that scowl and just that intensity about it.
Often on the Child Whisper Facebook group, parents will, just because it's very endearing now.
Yes.
Where it might have been a little confusing.
Mm-hmm.
And then people will remark about that because they're like, why is this child, so
It's
intense?
almost like when I noticed that.
It's just what they do.
Mhm. When I
And-
noticed that in my type 3 son after he was born, it was almost like, oh, it's my little
I know,
type 3.
see?
This is very endearing.
You're like really proud of that scowl.
Yes,
So
right.
post your type 3 child scowl photo on the Child Whisper Facebook group because we really all appreciate that. We usually get a whole lot, and they're look at mine. Because suddenly it's a validation of who they are and they're reminded, this is a child that just really has great confidence and determined to really take on the experience of life fully.
Let's pull up all 3 images together. You can see an earthy, exotic quality in these faces. Another feature that I look for are deeper lines. So look around
Yes.
their noses. Right
The lines
around
are
their
deeper
nostril,
at a younger age.
the
very
lines are
much.
deeper. And also in the youngest type 3, you can see even her mouth without smiling, those lines go deeper. So overall in their facial features, you can see a dynamic, exotic quality. So you can hold up your child's photo and does it fit? Does it follow this movement?
Try the scowl too. It's great to know that your type 3 is determined so you can help direct, guide, and influence that energy to be put forth to great things and great accomplishments in life. Because yes, it is, boy, that's a lot of energy, but you're equipped to direct that energy to help your child be successful as they continue to grow into their adult years.